D-Rat shot. He scored! D-Rat. And Kurtz scores! It's a goal by Kurtz. Daniel Kurtz.
Welcome to the Stormcast, everybody. This is a podcast where we talk everything TABC sports. My name is Ellie Hochberg, and I'm here with our co-host, the head of our athletic director at TABC, Oren Glickman. How you doing, Oren?
It's a real pleasure to be here with you and Noah. You guys are great ambassadors for TABC Sports, and you guys are student athletes yourselves, representing our softball team in the spring. You guys, in fact, are big reasons on why we made the playoffs, once upon a time in a city called Brooklyn. But that, of course, was the past, and now we have the future to look forward to.
Thank you for the compliments. But looking forward to this sports season, with winter sports already getting underway, with varsity hockey already coming off the hot starts with 2 big wins over Orr and Frisch. Obviously, this is the same team. This is the same roster, relatively speaking, that won the JV championship 2 years ago. So, Oren, what are your expectations for this team? Like, who do you think could be some surprises? Who do you think will be our best players?
I expect this team to be in cruise control for the majority of the season. They might not get an actual test until their 5th game of the season when they host SAR. Because I think we all expected the first game to be a little bit closer because rivalry games tend to go that way. But Aiden Rausman shut the door early on Frisch. He's clearly one of, if not the best player in the league. And he did it again today against Orr. He scored again less than 2 minutes into the game. So now they're already 2-0. And they have 2 more games. They play against JC and Hillel, which should be a breeze. I think a lot of people expect it to be a TABC DRS final, which it was like last year. Hopefully with a better ending this time around.
Yeah, I think we'll see a preview of that matchup. We assume to be the championship matchup on December 19th. That should be a really good game. But as you mentioned, there's a lot of games that should be easy for this TABC team per se. Play JC on November 14th. That really should be, as we saw last year, not necessarily should be a close game. But what I've been really impressed with this varsity team is how early they've been scoring, how they've been setting the tone against Frisch. Again, a game that, as you mentioned, a game we expected to be much closer than it was. Aiden Rausman scored immediately. And as you mentioned today, again, Rausman scored within 2 minutes of the 2 minutes of the start of the game. Really just setting the tone early and not having to play tied or behind really just sets this team apart, and especially against Frisch. I mean, again, the Frisch, we expected that to be a much closer game.
Yeah, obviously when you're playing your first game of the season in November time, you're still learning on the job. So I expect when we see the rematch in December at TABC at the Weather Center, I think Frisch will be more battle tested, and I think they'll be more ready for that one. So just because we annihilated them in game 1 does not mean that you'll see the exact same script in game 2. So I think we still got to be prepared for that.
Of course. So OG, who has really impressed you from this varsity team so far?
Shai Forgash was terrific in goal in the first game. It's unfortunate he couldn't come away with the shutout, but he was still mightily impressive. It was Nathaniel Kalb who actually got the start today against Orr, and he preserved the shutout. He didn't really get tested up until the 3rd period, but still, shutout's a shutout. Obviously, the first line duo of Aiden Rausman and Ben-Sion Kaiser, the type of chemistry that they have with each other, it's just it's great to watch. Aryeh Isakovitz and Ethan Moskoff, Aryeh Simon, 3 terrific defensemen who are just grinders. It's really Jonathan Brofman, the heart and soul of the team. Akiva Mittel continues to evolve as a player. I think it's very hard to find a vulnerability in this team. Um, I think the only team in the Yeshiva League this year that can go toe to toe with them is DRS, and maybe the fact that we lost to them last year in the finals, that'll be a motivating factor for why we can maybe come out on top over them this year.
Yeah, and I think a real advantage for this TABC for this varsity team is that they've really that they've really played together for 3 years now, and especially last year, like the senior, a lot of the juniors got a lot of playing time, which I really think helped chemistry wise.
Yeah, I think I said that it's very hard to find a vulnerability in this team, but some people think when it comes to Yeshiva League hockey, after you've already won a JV championship, you lose that passion, you lose that desire for a varsity title. But I've yet to see it in this group. I think they want it more than anyone right now. You've already seen it already in the 5-1 victory at Frisch and the 9-0 victory at Or Yisrael, and expect a fun home opener this Thursday night against the JC Thunder.
So just finishing up on varsity, any last predictions for the season? Any hot takes?
The only thing I'm confident of is that I really believe it'll be a TABC DRS final. Location, who knows? Maybe we'll finally get to play a championship game again at Lawrence Middle School. I know that's before your time.
Yeah.
But that's always where the championship game has been. If it's at Frisch, keep in mind that's where the JV final was 2 years ago when Aiden Rousman scored the overtime goal to carry TABC over DRS. But then again, DRS got the better of the storm. The Wildcats got the better of the storm last year when the final was at Frisch. I really don't know. That's the only thing I'm confident of. I'm not going to make a prediction beyond that. DRS TABC final. We'll see that matchup in December time when we host DRS. Maybe that could be a possible preview where we can draw some possible tea leaves and hints. So I'll wait for that matchup, and then I'll give you my thoughts again then.
Yeah, what's interesting is like last year there's also TABC played DRS on what ended up being the championship matchup. If I remember correctly, DRS really blew them out. And honestly, and after that, I was a little concerned. But of course, they played much better in the actual final, in the actual championship. So it's not it will be a good indicator, but it's not necessarily if one team loses, it's not like the season's over or anything.
Oh, that's totally true.
Yeah.
I still believe that TABC were outplayed DRS in a lot of facets throughout that championship game. It was unfortunate the way it went down for sure.
Yeah. So sticking with hockey, we'll move on to JV hockey, which after a disappointing season last year.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think there were two infamous people. You and Noah could keep it on the DL, but I heard that there were these two guys who wrote a very infamous article about TABC's misfortunes last year in JV hockey. Can you confirm or deny that for me?
No comment. But the this year hopefully gonna make the playoffs. Could you tell us about some freshmen that you're looking forward to? Obviously, that not most people have not seen, that you're looking forward to make an impact. Some sophomores that you're looking to take a step up, and what do you think the starting lineup will look like?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Well, first off, I'm highly confident you could take it to the bank. I think we will see the return of TABC JV hockey in the playoffs. I think, you asked about the freshmen, but I think there's still a lot of hype surrounding our returning sophomores. David Ratzersdorfer is a proven leader. Jake Rubenstein, I think, is a terrific goal scorer. They have their first test this Wednesday night where they'll go to the Hafter Hawks in the Five Towns. In regards to freshmen, Mo Fuchs, the director of hockey operations, he has been a big advocate for Jack Solomon from Kushner Middle School. So there's a lot of hype surrounding him. David Allen, I think there's high hopes regarding him as well. We'll definitely see. I think JV, it's a wide open field compared to varsity. DRS and TABC are the clear cut favorites at the varsity level. I think JV, while we do have a great team, Frisch, DRS, SAR, defending champs. I think it's anyone's league. I will say that we did get a great addition in Adine Katler, transferring from SAR, won a championship last year with the Sting. It's unfortunate that he's out for the season due to injury. We would look forward to having him for future seasons. And Sal Sandell will be starting for the JV team. He was actually part of the varsity squad last year, so he got some real varsity experience that he'll be taking with him to the JV level this year. So we're looking forward to seeing that as well.
Yeah, I think having Saul, someone who really played on varsity actually last year, got in a few games, really just sat behind Amichai Dresner, and obviously now starting goalie for varsity, Shai Forgash will really help them out. And so who do you think? What do you think the starting lineup will look like? Who do you think will be starting on offense and defense?
That's a really good question. Svika Pelayoff really keeps his cards close to his vest. I'm not really sure what to anticipate for that first game at HAFTR on Wednesday night. I unfortunately will not be able to attend the game since I'll be in Memphis traveling with the varsity basketball team, which we will discuss more at length in our next segment. But I would say it's really hard to tell, he has some great freshmen. Noah Schwabel's another player who we didn't talk about before, but I know that he was part of the Mariah championship team last year, so he's another person to keep your eye out for. I like the idea of Ratzerstorfer, Jake Rubenstein, maybe David Kranzler, and maybe Jack Solomon.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. I could definitely be wrong, though. Svika knows better. Svika knows more than I do.
Yeah, of course. Nah, you're not. I don't think you're making decisions here. It's more so what you think an idea.
I'm just a messenger.
Yeah, and of course, big ad back after last year. One of the leading scorers for TABC, Marty Teitelbama, who had a devastating injury.
Right.
At the end of last year, came back for one or two final games. It really was an unfortunate blow for TABC. Well,
right.
He's back this year.
No, you bring up a really good point. Marty is a game changer. If we can go an entire season without Marty getting hurt, that would definitely change the fortunes of our season for sure. I mean, obviously the past is the past. We have to look forward towards the future now. But the fact that I forgot to bring up Marty was probably because of his injury last year. So it's great to have Marty back. Marty is a poacher. I still remember his goal last year against Frisch in that road game. It turns out it may have not actually been a goal, but I'll take it. It was a very valuable point.
I remember that very clearly.
Yeah. But Marty's physicality and his eye for the court, it should cause a lot of problems for our opposing teams.
So overall, just very good, high expectations for varsity and increased expectations for JV from last year. Moving on to varsity basketball, as I've mentioned for varsity hockey, this is the team that won JV championship 2 years ago, swept the JV championships. So obviously, we all know about Eyal Kindler. We all remember his 34-point game against Shalhevet. The real question is again, what are expectations for this team, and who else can we look out for besides Eyal?
I think it's pretty clear to anybody who watches Yeshiva League high school basketball that it's championship or bust with this team. Anything less than a championship is a complete disappointment with this group, for good reason. When you have Eyal Kindler, who's going to be the most dominant big man in this league, a very talented point guard, and Yona Mandel, Akiva Borgen, who didn't have much of a role with the JV championship team 2 years ago, is now one of the best juniors in the league, in my opinion. Obviously, a championship is the goal, but there are also other stages where there are other tournaments where we want to compete on the national stage, such as the Cooper Invitational over the weekend. Sarachek, TABC has never made a Sarachek championship game in school history, so that could be a first with this group. In fact, I was able to observe a practice tonight with Coach Oz and Coach Honig, and Coach Oz made a comment that he thinks that this group can give Zevi Samet's TABC group a run for their money. So
Wow.
that tells you all you need to know about the expectations with this team.
And I think the Cooper seeding, in fact, really exemplifies that. I believe they're ranked as the 3 seed, which is much higher than they were last year. I'm not sure exactly what they were last year, but it was
They were 7 last year.
7. I was but that really shows the high expectations, especially after finishing a really impressive showing in Sarachek last year. And two people that really impressed me last year was really, as you mentioned, Akiva Borgen and of course Jonathan Faber. Those two really carried the JV team. They scored a vast majority of the points. They're really game changers. And they really impressed me as they didn't play. Of course, they were also freshmen, but they didn't play as large of an impact during their freshman year on this championship-winning team. So I would expect them to play a larger impact this year.
Yeah, obviously we're while we are stronger this year compared to last year, maybe I wouldn't even say stronger. While we are more favored this year compared to last year, we're definitely going to be missing Eitan Salimanov's leadership. We're going to be missing Aiden Gurin's lights out shooting. I think we're hopeful that Jonathan Faber can maybe step into that Aiden Gurin type role. And I would also give an honorable mention to another junior, Shlomo Wenger. That guy is a beast. He fights for every single loose ball. I've liked what I've seen of him out of practice. So I would keep your eyes on him too. And how about a senior who's full of talent that transferred to TABC last year, who was not part of the JV team a few years ago, is Avraham Shur. So I think you can expect to see Avraham Shur in that rotation a lot as well. The first game of the season is tomorrow night at Kushner before they travel to Memphis. Obviously, they'll be heavily favored, but we'll get some hints as we watch them tomorrow night.
Yeah, especially how we'll see Oz manages the team and the rest. So how do you expect? Of course, you're not making decisions here, but how would you expect the starting lineup to look like?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that 4 of the starting 5 is obvious. Kinderler, Mandel, David Sachs, and Ben-Sion Kaiser. And maybe it'll be on again, off again, where you have Avraham Shur starting and Akiva Borgen as the 6th man, and Akiva Borgen starting with Avraham Shur as the 6th man.
Yeah, a very strong starting lineup to say the least, and I think TFC is looking. I think we're looking to match our last year, if not better. Of course, a disappointing loss in the playoffs.
Well, now that a lot of people were saying now, if we had shot clock last year, maybe the North Shore game happens with a different ending. We'll never know.
So I know, if in case you don't know, to our listeners, OG was a big advocate for the shot clock. So if you want to talk about the shot clock for a little bit and the change you'll think to make.
Listen, I think it's great for the league. Every league should be playing with shot clock. I can't take all the credit. A shout out to my colleague from Ramaz, Ari Witkus, for helping me making this happen. I really was not thinking about TABC when it came to this. I just wanted to make the league better, and thank God it's happening, and we're very excited.
Yeah.
And
I really think the quality of play. I mean, I think I enjoyed watching Sarachek more with the shot clocks.
Right.
Makes the game move a lot faster and much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And then on to JV basketball, which last year we made the playoffs, but again looking to expand, looking to increase, go further on in the playoffs. So, what are expectations for this team, and who are people that we can look out for? After last year, it was mostly current juniors and last year's sophomores who got a vast majority of the playing time.
Right. So obviously Borgen and Faber were the anchors of that team, and now they're moving on up to varsity. JV, I think we hit the jackpot this year in terms of our incoming freshmen. Ezra Adams is maybe the best freshman in the league this year. I think he has the potential to play varsity next year as a sophomore. Tani Stein is another player who I've been very impressed with in the Rubenstein tournament when I traveled with the team down to Flatbush. And in terms of sophomore leadership, I'm looking to Sammy Haberman and Zachy Lowe. I think this team has a lot of growing and learning to do. will definitely make the playoffs. I think they have an easy slate to kick off the season, so they could easily start off 3-0 with wins against Kushner, NTA, and Heschel. And it's all about getting into a rhythm. So we'll see what happens after that. I think the fact that I'll give this guy a shout out, Isaac Stepner, who goes to Frisch. I think the fact that he moved up to varsity helps every other team in JV in terms of giving them a fair opportunity to make a run at the title.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember watching him last year in that TVC Frisch game. That was truly a spectacle. But I believe this team is probably the most unknown out of these four teams. I mean, not a lot of people who've gotten playing time, and so it's really, this team will really get a real feel after watching a few games. It's really asking the same questions I've asked for everything. You're not the coach, but what do you think the starting lineup will look like?
I think you'll see Haberman, Lowe, Adams, Josh Neese, and I think definitely those four.
Yeah, so
and,
just so we get an
idea. And you know, I think Kranzler will be in and out of the rotation in terms of starting and coming off the bench immediately. It's Rubenstein, I think, was a great experience for them. In fact, I thought their loss against Flatbush was more impressive than their win over JEC. So that told me a lot. I was very impressed with Rafi Karasik. I thought he had a great tournament and made the case. Ezra Crone also, he'll be in and out of the rotation. Something that has plagued the team, unfortunately, early on is Yehuda Shur. Yehuda Shur was named a starter for the preseason tournament, but he's been out of commission due to a bad case of pneumonia, and I'm not even sure he'll be ready to go tomorrow. So Crone might continue to start in his place. And the problem with Shur being out is you lose a lot of size there.
Of course, a big doubleheader. I mean, TUC, of course, will be favored, but Tamara Kushner for both basketball teams, really to get a sense of how these teams will look. Again, I think SAR won the Rubenstein tournament. Would it be safe to say they're favored to win the JV title this year, or do you think there's someone?
I would say SAR and Frisch are definitely favorite out of our division. I would say Flatbush is another favorite. They're expected to go perfect in their division, maybe partly because they don't have to play teams like SAR and Frisch in the regular season. But we will definitely be a playoff team. I have no doubt about that. And anything can happen in February and March.
Okay. Any last notes, Oren?
I just want to encourage our listeners to come to as many home games as possible. Listen, I get nervous when it comes to our fans, but there's no denying we have the best fans in the Yeshiva League. And you know, obviously, the season was off to a great start with a great varsity hockey win on the road against our rivals in Frisch. And it's going to be a fun season. I'm, you know, after only winning a track championship last year, I could really use some more titles under my belt. So help me out, guys, this year. And again, I appreciate what you and Noah do with everything in regards to your school spirit and always being there for the athletic program. You guys are the best super fans I know. And I thank you guys so much for having me on for the first episode. And hopefully we'll get some student athletes on for future episodes.
Hopefully that's the plan. Okay. Thank you, Oren. I'm looking forward to a great season. And we're out.